Thailand is set to further ease movement restrictions, with more businesses allowed to reopen from Sunday. This comes as the country recorded 0 daily new cases earlier this week. But 7 new cases were reported today, all imported. Let's get more from our correspondent, Saksit Soyasambat in Bangkok. Saksit, what more do we know about these restrictions and by how much it's going to be eased on Sunday?
Yes, indeed. The Thai government's COVID-19 task force has given the green light to the second phase of reopenings, as they have said, and they include shopping malls, they include hardware stores, they also include many other activities, for example, team sports of no more than 3 people per team, and also some other facilities will also be allowed to reopen again on Sunday. Legally speaking, it still needs the publishing in the Royal Gazette in order to come into force. But this is what we are looking at, that more businesses will now be allowed to reopen this coming Sunday. And this comes 2 weeks after the first restrictions have been lifted. Ever since restaurants and public parks, for example, have been allowed to open. But all these reopenings and all these liftings of restrictions that we are gradually seeing now, they will, of course, come with certain guidelines and measures. For example, safe distancing, hygiene rules, and many other stuff like that. For example, in malls, you will be required to use an app to check in and check out, so that authorities will know where you have been in case of a possible second outbreak. And also, they have also the right to limit how many people are allowed to go into shops. So this is the so-called new normal that a lot of people are facing now, but at least now it will be a new normal where life is slowly coming back into public life here in Thailand.
That's right, and the number of locally transmitted cases all heading in the right direction, down this past week. Could we then see the state of emergency lifted anytime soon?
Well, there's no indication as such yet. The state of emergency that has been in place since late March is still going on for until the end of this month. It has already been extended once. It can still be extended for another time. So in total, a state of emergency, legally speaking, can be as long as 3 months. But then the government can simply just let this one expire and call on a new state of emergency. And there are still many other restrictions in place. For example, the borders to Thailand are still closed. For example, you can't fly in here except the transportation of goods or repatriations. Also, interprovincial travel is being discouraged, even though theoretically you can, but each province has their own measures that may or may not hinder you, so your mileage may vary. And also, there are many other restrictions still going on. For example, the booze ban in restaurants is still there. Bars are still being closed, and also the curfew, the night curfew, is still in place, even though that has been now shortened by 1 hour. So the curfew now goes from 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. So even though we're halfway there in the slow, gradual phase of reopenings, they have said that they will reassess the situation every 2 weeks before letting a new batch of openings go through. It's still some way to go, and even if we are all through all the phases now, we're not quite sure how it would look like when we come out of the other end of it. And the government still doesn't make any inclination that they're going to lift the state of emergency before the scheduled expiration of later this month.
Okay, understand. Many thanks for that, Saksit Soyasambat in Bangkok, telling us the country is moving through its different phases of easing restrictions, but for now, the state of emergency stays.